Maya arrived at her boyfriend's family farm expecting a quiet weekend. Instead, every pair of eyes at the table froze the moment they saw her. They did not want a black woman in their family. They made it obvious. But while they judged her, they had no idea she already owned the land they were so desperate to protect. Jonathan Harris sat at the small wooden table of his apartment in Atlanta, staring at his phone like it carried a secret that could change the course of his entire life. After a long moment, he finally hit the call button. The screen flashed the name of his mother, Linda Harris. The phone rang twice. Jonathan took a deep breath. This was it. His mother picked up. "Hello, Jonathan, everything okay? You sound tense." Jonathan forced himself to sound calm. "Mom, I need to tell you something important." There was a pause on the other end. "All right, go ahead." Jonathan swallowed hard. "I met someone, and I am getting married." For a few seconds, the silence felt heavy. Married, already, to who? Her tone had changed. Suspicion, curiosity, a little fear. Jonathan continued. "Her name is Maya Jenkins. She works as a community coordinator in Texas. We met online. We talked for months. We grew close. And now we decided to start a life together." Linda's voice sharpened. "Online, Jonathan, you barely know her. What does she even do? What kind of family is she from?" Jonathan felt his stomach twist. He knew what his mother was circling around but not saying directly. His father, Robert Harris, had old-fashioned views. His mother followed whatever he said. If Jonathan brought home someone different from their small-town expectations, he knew exactly how they would react. Jonathan answered anyway. "She is an amazing woman, Mom. She is smart, kind, and she has a good heart. That is what matters." Another pause. "This one colder. We want to meet her first. Bring her home." Jonathan nodded even though she could not see him. "I will. This weekend." Before ending the call, Linda hesitated. "Jonathan, just make sure you know what you are doing. Our family has standards." Jonathan closed his eyes. "Mom, you will like her. Give her a chance." He hung up. He stayed still in his chair, letting the weight of the moment settle. For the first time, he felt fear about the thing that should have made him excited. Meeting Maya had given him hope, strength, and a sense of belonging he never felt before. But introducing her to his family felt like stepping into a storm. A soft knock came from the hallway. Jonathan opened the door, and there she was. Maya, dark brown skin glowing in the dim lights, deep curls bouncing on her shoulders, her smile soft and warm. She wore jeans and a simple blue top, but she had a presence that filled any room. She looked at him. "So you told them?" Jonathan nodded slowly. "Yeah. They want to meet you." Maya stepped closer and held his hand. "Are you scared?" Jonathan let out a slow sigh. "A little. My family. They are not bad. They are just stuck in their world." Maya squeezed his hand. "Then we will show them a bigger world." Jonathan smiled for the first time since the call. "Yeah, I guess we will." The weekend visit was coming, and none of them knew how that trip would change everything. Jonathan loaded the last suitcase into the trunk of his silver Honda. The morning sun was rising, turning the sky orange, but Jonathan could not enjoy any of it. His hands were shaking slightly, and he kept checking his phone as if hoping his parents would cancel the visit themselves. Maya stepped out of the apartment building, pulling her jacket around her shoulders. "Ready?" she asked with a gentle smile. Jonathan took a deep breath. "As ready as I can be." They got into the car. Maya adjusted her seat. Jonathan started the engine, but he did not pull out yet. He stared at the steering wheel like it held answers. Maya looked at him. "You do not have to be afraid of your own family." Jonathan let out a quiet laugh. "I wish that was true." She placed her hand on his arm. "Whatever happens, I am not backing down." That gave him comfort. He nodded, then pulled the car onto the highway. The road stretched long and quiet. Trees lined both sides. Trucks passed now and then. The silence between them was heavy but not empty. Jonathan was thinking of the past. Maya was watching the future. After an hour, Maya spoke softly. "Tell me about the farm again." Jonathan exhaled slowly. "It is big, old. My great-grandfather built it. It used to be one of the biggest corn farms in the county. Then years of debt happened. Crops failed. Bad decisions. Now it is barely holding on." Maya nodded. "So your father is stressed." Jonathan hesitated. "Stressed and stubborn, and he does not like change." Maya looked ahead. "And I am a change." Jonathan gripped the steering wheel tighter. They should see you for who you are, not what you look like. Maya nodded again. We will see what they choose to see. They drove deeper into rural Georgia. Windmills spun in the distance. Old barns stood in fields like tired giants. Every mile closer made Jonathan more tense. He kept glancing at Maya, as if making sure she would not vanish. After another hour, Maya leaned back in her seat. Jonathan, tell me honestly, is this only about me being a black woman? Jonathan did not answer right away. His jaw tightened. Mostly, yes. My family has a history, a mindset, old traditions, small-town thinking, and they think they are protecting me. Maya stared out her window. Then let them meet the real me, not their assumptions. Jonathan felt a surge of pride. Maya never bowed down to anyone. It was part of what drew him to her. But he also felt something strange, something he did not fully understand. It was the feeling that this visit was not just about acceptance. Something else was waiting at that farm. Something bigger than race. Something he never imagined. As they turned onto the long gravel road that led to Harris Farm, Maya noticed his hands tightening again. Jonathan, she said softly, whatever happens, we face it together. Jonathan nodded, but his eyes stayed on the old farmhouse ahead. And far in the distance, beyond the fields, a man stood on the porch watching their car approach. His stance stiff, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. That man was Robert Harris, and he was already prepared to dislike the woman he had not yet met. The car rolled to a stop in front of the farmhouse. The Harris Farm sign was leaning sideways, paint chipped and wood cracked. The house itself looked worn, its porch steps sagging, its windows dull. A big American flag hung on the wall, faded by years of sun. Jonathan got out first. His heart beat fast. Maya stepped out next, smoothing her clothes and holding a calm expression. Robert Harris remained on the porch, boots planted, jaw tight. His wife Linda peeked through the screen door like she was afraid to come out. Jonathan walked toward his father. Dad, this is Maya! Robert looked Maya up and down. His eyes lingered too long, cold and judgmental. He did not smile. He did not greet her. He simply nodded, barely. Maya kept her voice steady. Nice to meet you, Mr. Harris. Robert grunted. Jonathan, help your mother in the kitchen. Jonathan froze. Dad, you could at least say hello properly. Robert's eyes narrowed. I said what I needed to. Now help your mother. Jonathan clenched his jaw but obeyed. He walked inside. Linda gave him a small hug but avoided looking at Maya. That left Maya standing with Robert on the porch. The air between them felt sharp. Robert stared at her boots, then at her hands, then at her face, as if searching for something to criticize. So you are the woman he met online. Maya kept her voice neutral. Yes, I am. Robert crossed his arms. People online pretend to be something they are not. Maya met his eyes directly. I am not pretending. Robert shifted. He did not like her confidence. You think you know my boy? Maya answered calmly. I know he deserves happiness. Robert let out a short, irritated breath. We will see about that. Before Maya could respond, a loud thud came from inside the house. It sounded like something heavy falling. Jonathan rushed out. Sorry, a bag fell. Mom is sorting things. Maya nodded, but she could sense tension inside as well. Robert spoke again, his voice low. We are a simple family here. We got a way of living. We do not like surprises. Maya looked at the fields stretching around them. Life does not ask permission before changing. Robert stared at her, eyes narrowing further. Where you come from, maybe, not here. Maya felt a strange chill. Something in his tone was more than dislike. It was fear. But fear of what? Jonathan stepped next to her. Dad, Maya is here to meet everyone. That is all. Robert did not respond. Instead, he turned and walked into the house without another word. Jonathan sighed. I am sorry. This is worse than I thought. Maya shook her head. It is fine, I can handle it. But deep inside, she felt something unsettling. Not just hostility, not just rejection. Something else was off. She stepped into the farmhouse for the first time. The air smelled old. The hallway lights flickered. Pictures of ancestors lined the walls. Men in overalls. Women in long dresses. All white faces staring down at her. And then she noticed something even stranger. One picture frame was missing from the wall. A clean rectangle of unfaded paint showed where it had been removed recently. Jonathan did not notice it. But Maya did. and a quiet whisper of danger moved through her mind. Something was being hidden, something important, and Maya was about to find out exactly what. Maya followed Jonathan down the narrow hallway. The wooden floor creaked under every step. Old houses made noise, but this one felt different. The creak sounded like warnings. The walls seemed to hold secrets. Jonathan led her toward the living room. "Come on, I will show you around." But Maya stopped. Her eyes were fixed on the empty spot on the wall where a picture frame had clearly been removed. The outline was too clean, too fresh. Jonathan looked back. "What is it?" Maya pointed to the empty space. "Something was here. Recently." Jonathan frowned. "Maybe Mom moved it while cleaning." Maya glanced at the other frames. "Every picture here is from the same time period. Same style, same age. This empty spot, it is new." Jonathan looked uneasy but shrugged it off. "My parents are strange sometimes. They could have moved it for any reason." Maya did not buy that, but she did not push it. Not yet. They walked into the living room. The furniture was old but polished. A large stone fireplace stood against the far wall. Above it hung a portrait of Jonathan's great-grandfather. A tall white man with icy eyes and a stern face. Maya studied the photo. "He looks intense." Jonathan let out a laugh that held no humor. "Yeah, that side of the family believes in tradition more than anything else." Maya looked deeper. Something about the eyes bothered her. The way they seemed to watch her, judge her. She turned to Jonathan. "Your family has lived here a long time. More than 100 years, he replied. Maya nodded slowly. "And during those years, did anyone ever question who really owned this land?" Jonathan gave her a confused look. "Owned? Maya, what are you talking about?" Before she could explain, the front door slammed. Robert walked in. His boots thudded heavily on the floor. He carried a thick folder in his hand. He glanced at Maya, then quickly tucked the folder under his arm, as if he did not want her to see what was inside. Jonathan noticed. "Dad, what is that?" "Just paperwork," Robert said without making eye contact. "Nothing you need to worry about." But the way he held it told Maya otherwise. He was hiding something. Something about the land. Something about her. Linda stepped into the room next, wiping her hands on a towel. "Lunch is ready." Her eyes met Maya's for a moment, and Maya saw a flicker of something. Not hatred, not anger, fear. Why would Linda be afraid of her? Nobody said anything, but the silence was heavy. "Too heavy," Jonathan whispered to Maya. "We will get through this weekend. I promise." Maya nodded, but her mind was working fast. Something was wrong. Something about this farm. Something about that missing picture. Something Robert was hiding in that folder. And Maya felt deep in her gut that she would not leave this place without uncovering the truth. The dining room was dim, lit by a single yellow bulb that hummed quietly. A long wooden table stretched across the room. Plates were set neatly, forks aligned perfectly, not one thing out of place. It looked like a room where arguments had happened for decades, and the walls had memorized, every one of them. Jonathan and Maya sat side by side. Robert took the seat at the head of the table. Linda sat stiffly at the other end. For a moment, no one spoke. Linda cleared her throat. "So, Maya, what does your family do?" Maya smiled politely. "My parents passed away when I was young. I was raised by my grandmother. She was a strong woman, hard worker. She taught me everything I know." Robert cut in. "What about their background?" Jonathan's jaw tightened. "Dad?" Robert ignored him. "I mean, where did they come from? What kind of life did they live?" Maya looked Robert straight in the eyes. "They worked the land. They believed in honesty and independence. And they believed no one was above anyone else." Jonathan smiled at her answer. Robert did not. Linda tried to change the subject. "Maya, would you like some cornbread?" Before Maya could reach, Robert spoke in a low voice. "Careful with that. Some people are not used to our way of eating." Jonathan slammed his hand on the table. "Dad, enough." Robert stared at his son. "I am asking questions that every parent would ask." Jonathan shook his head. "No, you are judging someone you do not even know." Linda spoke softly. "We just want to understand who she is." "You mean you want to know if I fit your picture of a daughter-in-law?" Maya said calmly. The room went silent. Robert leaned back in his chair. "Jonathan comes from a long line of Harris men. This farm has been our pride, our identity. We do not want anything affecting that," Maya replied, her voice steady. If this land is your pride, then you should know everything about it. Robert's face tightened. What is that supposed to mean? Maya held her gaze on him. Just that people often hide things to protect their pride. The air froze. Robert set his fork down slowly. What do you think you know? Maya noticed the folder he had brought earlier sitting near his chair. He moved it closer to himself. She leaned forward. Maybe I should be asking you that. Linda quickly stood up. Dessert. I will bring dessert. But no one touched their plates. Not Jonathan. Not Maya. Not Robert. Jonathan whispered. Maya, please, not now. But Maya was no longer focused on the food. Her eyes were on Robert, and his were locked on hers. For the first time, he looked shaken. One line of worry appeared near his brow. He realized she sensed something. Maya finally spoke again. Mr. Harris, why do I feel like you already knew who I was before I arrived? Robert's hand tightened around the folder. Jonathan's head jerked toward his father. Dad, what is she talking about? Linda dropped a spoon. It clattered loudly on the floor. No one picked it up. The tension was rising fast, and Maya knew she was getting close to something big, something that family had kept buried for years, something connected to who she was, and why they really did not want her here. After dinner, the tension was so thick that even the quietest sound felt loud. Jonathan offered to help his mother clean up, but Linda insisted he stay with Maya instead. Her voice trembled. She kept glancing at Robert, who avoided everyone's eyes. Maya sensed something deeper brewing beneath the surface. She excused herself to use the restroom, but once out of sight, she paused in the hallway with the family photos. The missing picture spot drew her attention again. She ran her fingers along the clean rectangle. Someone removed it recently. There was no dust, no discoloration. It was hidden on purpose. She moved quietly toward the stairs. Jonathan was still in the kitchen. Robert was talking in a low voice. Linda was clattering dishes, her hands shaking. No one noticed Maya slipping upstairs. The upper hallway was even darker. A long faded rug stretched across the wooden floor. Several doors lined the corridor. One door at the end had a metal latch instead of a regular handle. That was strange. Why would a bedroom door need a latch? Maya approached slowly. The air felt colder here. The closer she got, the more she felt the faint smell of old paper and dust. She tried the handle. Locked. She pressed her ear against it. Nothing at first. Then a faint sound. A shuffle. A rustle. Like someone moving something inside. Maya jerked back. Was someone in there? Before she could question further, she heard the heavy steps of Robert coming up the stairs. Maya moved quickly toward the other end of the hallway, pretending to admire the photos. Robert reached the top, his voice sharp. What are you doing up here? Maya kept her tone calm, looking around. Houses with history interest me. Robert's eyes moved past her to the locked door. His jaw tightened. His posture stiffened. He stepped between her and the end of the hallway. There was nothing upstairs for guests. Maya looked at the locked door. Does not look like nothing. Robert's voice grew firm. That room stays closed. Do not go near it. Maya held his gaze. Why? What is in there? Robert stared at her with a strange mix of anger and fear. Old family things. You do not need to know anything about that. He pushed past her and walked downstairs again without another word. Maya exhaled slowly. He was hiding something behind that door. Something connected to that missing picture. Something he did not want her to discover. She walked back downstairs, her mind racing. Jonathan met her halfway. Hey, where did you go? She forced a small smile. Just looking around. But Jonathan studied her face closely. Maya, what happened? She looked toward the kitchen where Robert's shadow moved across the floor. Then she whispered, Jonathan, your father is hiding something, and I think it has to do with me. Jonathan frowned. What could my dad possibly hide about you? Maya shook her head. I don't know, but we need to find out. Jonathan swallowed, concern rising in his eyes. Please be careful. My dad is unpredictable. Maya squeezed his arm gently. I know, but whatever he is hiding is the reason he does not want me here. Jonathan looked toward the stairs. If he is hiding something, I will find out tonight. Maya nodded. We find it together, but neither of them realized something. Linda was standing near the corner listening, and her eyes were filled with guilt. Later that night, the air was colder than usual. Crickets hummed outside. The farmhouse creaked as if shifting in its sleep. Jonathan and Maya sat in the small guest room, whispering quietly with the door closed. Jonathan ran a hand through his hair. I do not understand what my dad could be hiding about you. He never met you. Maya sat on the edge of the bed. Unless he knew my name before I arrived. Jonathan blinked. What do you mean? Maya spoke slowly. When your father asked about my background at dinner, it felt like he already knew something, like he was confirming something he had heard. Jonathan hesitated. But how? Your last name Jenkins is common. There are thousands. Maya nodded. I know. But what if my family and yours crossed paths long ago? Jonathan was about to respond when they heard something downstairs. A drawer slamming shut. A muffled argument. Voices. Jonathan opened the guest room door slightly and listened. Robert's voice echoed through the floorboards. I told you. We are not telling them anything. Not now, not ever. Linda's shaky reply followed. But she has a right to know, and so does Jonathan. Maya and Jonathan froze. She has, right. No, Maya whispered. They are talking about me. Jonathan looked stunned. This does not make sense. Robert's voice grew louder. If she finds out, everything will fall apart. This land, our name, everything. Jonathan stepped back, heart pounding. Our name. He said our name. Maya held her breath. Jonathan, I think your family history and mine are connected, and it is something your father does not want resurfacing. Jonathan clenched his fists. If he knows something about your family, something he hid. This is serious. Maya nodded. And that missing picture, and the locked room. It all points to something being covered up. Jonathan looked toward the hallway. We need proof. Before they could plan anything else, something happened downstairs. A sharp sound. Paper tearing. Jonathan's face changed. He is destroying something. Maya acted first. Come on, we have to get downstairs. They moved quietly down the stairs, careful not to be heard, stopping before they reached the bottom. They peered into the dining room through the dark hallway. Robert was standing near the table with the same folder he had tried to hide earlier. Pages were scattered across the table. Old papers, yellowed edges, handwritten notes, legal documents, and at the center of the pile was something that made Maya's breath catch. A land deed. Jonathan whispered. What is that? Maya squinted, focusing on the faded writing. She read the handwritten signature. Her heart pounded. It said, Property of Ann Jenkins. Jonathan shook his head in shock. Jenkins, that is your grandmother's name. Maya felt the ground tilt beneath her. Before she could take another breath, Linda grabbed Robert's wrist. Stop destroying it. You cannot hide this forever. It is her land, her family's land. Robert yanked his hand away. This is Harris land now. We built our lives here. No outsider is taking this from us. Linda's voice cracked. She is not an outsider. She is a Jenkins. Jonathan inhaled sharply. Maya stepped back, her heart hammering. Her voice cracked in a whisper. My grandmother owned this farm. Jonathan stared at her, stunned. Maya, this is your land. They looked at each other, the truth unraveling in front of them. Downstairs, Robert was still ripping papers in rage, unaware that Maya and Jonathan had heard everything. This farm, this land, the legacy Robert claimed for generations. It did not belong to the Harris family. It belonged to Maya's family, her grandmother, her bloodline, her name. And this was only the beginning of the truth. Maya stepped back into the hallway, her breath coming faster. Jonathan grabbed her arm gently. Maya, are you sure about what we heard? Maya nodded. My grandmother, Ann Jenkins. She lived in Georgia before moving to Texas. She talked about working land and losing everything. After a dispute, she never explained. This must be it. Jonathan stared at the staircase in shock. So my family took the land, or lied about ownership, or hid the documents, Maya whispered. Your father knew who I was. Before I came here, that is why he did not want me near the house. That is why he removed the picture. That is why he locked that room upstairs. Jonathan clenched his jaw, anger rising. I need to talk to him. Maya grabbed his hand. Wait, if we confront him alone, he will deny everything. We need that locked room. There must be more documents inside. Proof. Jonathan hesitated, then nodded. We go now. While they are arguing. They crept upstairs again. The house groaned under their feet, but the voices downstairs covered the noise. They reached the locked room. Jonathan tried the handle again. Locked. he whispered. Dad keeps the keys in the drawer of his study desk. Maya pointed at the hallway. You get the keys. I will keep watch. Jonathan quietly rushed into the small study next to the stairs. Maya stayed near the locked door, listening to the voices downstairs. Linda was pleading. Robert, stop this, please. It is wrong. Robert shouted. I will not let her take this farm. Over my dead body. Maya heard something fall. A chair, maybe? Her heart raced. Jonathan returned quickly, holding a ring of keys. Let us try. He inserted the first key. No click. Second key. No click. Third key. Finally. Click. The lock turned. They exchanged a tense look. Jonathan pushed the door open slowly. The room inside was dim and cold. A single lamp sat on a dusty desk. Papers were stacked on shelves. Old files, land records, family documents, and on the desk, facing the wall, was the missing picture. Jonathan lifted it. His hands trembled. He turned it around. Maya inhaled sharply. It was a photograph of a young black woman standing beside a white man in overalls, both smiling. The woman looked exactly like Maya's grandmother. Ann Jenkins, Jonathan whispered. My great-grandfather. And your grandmother. They knew each other. They worked this farm together. Maya slowly sat on a dusty chair, overwhelmed. This picture would have changed everything. Robert hid it. He destroyed the proof that your family and mine shared this land. Jonathan searched through the shelves. There was more. Old letters, contracts, agreements, all signed by Ann Jenkins. Jonathan held a bundle of documents. This is the truth. It was never just Harris land. It was Jenkins' land too, maybe more hers than ours. Maya looked at him with tears forming. And your father has been hiding all of this. Before Jonathan could respond, heavy footsteps thundered upstairs. Robert, Maya whispered. He is coming. Jonathan stuffed the papers inside his jacket. The door slammed open. Robert stood there, his face red, breathing hard. He saw the open drawers, the keys, the documents in Jonathan's hands. His voice shook with rage. Get out of that room now. Jonathan stepped in front of Maya. Dad, stop hiding the truth. Robert pointed at the papers. Give those to me. They do not belong to you. Maya stood tall. They belong to my family. Robert's eyes widened. Get out of this house. Jonathan shook his head. Not until we know everything. Robert reached for the papers. Jonathan stepped back. Robert shouted, I will not let you ruin this family. Maya stared straight at him. Robert, your family ruined mine long ago. The entire house felt like it was trembling, and the final truth was seconds away. Robert lunged forward, trying to grab the papers. Jonathan pulled Maya back toward the hallway. Stop, Dad! You cannot keep hiding this! Robert snarled. This farm is my life. My father gave it to me. His father gave it to him. No one is taking it away. Maya stepped forward, fearless. My grandmother worked this land. Your family stole it from her, or tricked her, or forced her out when she had no one to defend her. Robert shook his head violently. That is not what happened. Jonathan yelled. Then tell us what happened. Robert opened his mouth, but the words did not come. His eyes darted from Maya to the documents, to the old photo in Jonathan's hand. Linda appeared behind him, tears streaming down her face. Tell them, Robert. Tell them the truth you have hidden for 40 years. Robert stared at his wife in betrayal. Linda. She stepped past him, facing Maya. Your grandmother did own this land. She inherited it from her mother. But she fell behind on taxes. She was struggling. Robert's father offered to help her, to buy the land temporarily and return it later. Jonathan felt his stomach twist. But he never returned it. Linda nodded with shame. He kept it, and she had no money to fight it, Maya whispered. She lost everything. Linda wiped her tears. Even worse, she tried to come back for her belongings. She begged for time. But Robert's father chased her off. He said she did not belong here, and he told everyone she sold the farm willingly. Maya closed her eyes in pain. Jonathan stared at his father. Is this true? Robert looked defeated. It was done before my time, but I protected the lie. I protected our family name. Maya asked silently. Even if it meant destroying mine? Robert did not answer. Jonathan held the documents tightly. We are setting this right now. Robert's face twisted. You do not understand. If this gets out, this farm is gone. Our home is gone. Everyone will know what we did, Maya answered firmly. Maybe they should. Robert shook his head, his voice trembling. "You cannot take this from us." Jonathan stepped forward. "Dad, she is not taking anything. This was hers to begin with." Robert lunged again, grabbing for the photographs. In the struggle, papers scattered across the floor. One old envelope slid out, landing near Maya's feet. Something about it caught her eye. A seal, a faded stamp, the name Jenkins handwritten across the front. She picked it up. Jonathan and Robert stopped arguing. Maya opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a small key and a letter. She unfolded the paper. Her grandmother's handwriting filled the page. It said, "If the truth ever reaches you, this key opens what they could not destroy. Your legacy is safe," Jonathan whispered. "What does that mean?" Robert stepped back, pale. He thought that letter was gone. Maya looked at the small brass key. "Something else is hidden on this farm." Jonathan breathed out slowly. "Then we find it." Robert shook his head in panic. "Do not do this, please. Do not open old wounds," Maya answered quietly. They were never closed. The night was silent. The air was tight. The truth was finally out. But the biggest reveal was still waiting. The moon was bright enough to illuminate the backyard. Maya walked with the brass key in her hand. Jonathan stayed at her side. Moonlight lit the backyard as Maya walked with the brass key in her hand. Jonathan stayed beside her. Linda followed slowly, guilt written on her face. Robert remained on the porch, gripping the railing like he might fall without it. Jonathan asked, "Where does the key go?" Maya answered quietly, "Somewhere my grandmother hid the truth." Linda pointed to the old barn. "There is a cellar under it, locked for years." They hurried inside. The barn creaked, dust swirling in the cold air. Jonathan moved a few boxes and uncovered a trap door. "Help me!" They lifted it and climbed down. The cellar smelled old and forgotten. Maya walked toward a corner covered with blankets. Underneath was a hand-carved wooden chest. The brass lock matched her key. Jonathan whispered, "This is it." The key turned smoothly. Inside were old journals, letters, land agreements, and photos of Ann Jenkins working on the farm. All proof the land belonged to Maya's grandmother, not the Harris family. At the bottom was an envelope with Maya's name. She opened it. "If you are reading this, the truth has come home. This land is yours." Tears filled her eyes. When they came back up, Robert stared at the chest, shaken. "Please do not destroy us," Maya replied. "I am not here to ruin anyone, but I will not let the truth stay buried." Linda whispered, "If you want the land, we will leave." Maya shook her head. "No one leaves. We rebuild this place together, but ownership returns to the rightful family. That is all I ask. Fairness." Jonathan nodded proudly. "That is the only way forward." Robert finally exhaled. "I am sorry. For everything." Maya held the chest in her arms. "We start over, with honesty. The land that once rejected her now belonged to her, not through revenge, but through justice. The truth was alive again, and it was hers."